I've been training 24 years now. I'm 38 years old, and I've been a competitive bodybuilder for 21. And I feel like every season since season one, I've progressed forward a little bit.
Right
And
on.
I finally progressed forward enough to be competitive with some of the best professional bodybuilders in the world.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to Think Big Bodybuilding Media. I'm Scott McNally, and it is an honor and a pleasure today to have with us IFBB Pro, Dorian Haywood, and longtime friend of the program, Dave Kalick, his coach. What's up, guys? How you doing?
Thanks. Hey guys,
Hey,
what's up?
Scott. Thanks for having us, man.
Oh, man, dude, absolutely. I've had so much fun the last 2 years watching the progress that you've made, and we really haven't talked about it on one of the programs. I mean, we've talked about you. We just haven't had you on to actually talk to you. And it's been really cool this season, especially, man. I see just so many listeners and viewers of our programs that are like they're all getting behind you now because you've made such awesome progress just like in the past couple of years alone. So I thought today we could talk about the progress that you've made in this past couple of years, basically talk about how you've created the mass that you've created at this point. I've got some pictures here, and I thought that that'd be a good place to start. Let me see here. Dave sent me over some oldies but goodies. Now, this is back in the amateur days because I want to give people a perspective of where Dorian's come from. Now, you were no slouch here by any means, but that picture on the left, what are we looking at there, guys?
We're looking at 2015 North Americans, and then on the right is 16 nationals where he got his pro card.
Okay. And do you guys remember?
Also, there's a significant difference.
Yeah.
This is the difference between the year that I was coaching myself and the year I met Dave.
Okay.
So that's why this is also another important photo.
Interesting. So you did your own picture on the left. You did your own prep at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then, yeah, dude, you were a lot bigger then. Do you guys remember what the weight difference would have been between those 2 years?
I think, Dorian, if I might say, I'm pretty accurate. I think you came off, I remember meeting you, this is like in the bar area there of the Pittsburgh, the hotel there. And I believe you say you were roughly between 213, 214. This is in the heavyweights.
I think I was a little heavier than that. You're close.
Were you?
Yeah, I was a
So I remember,
heavyweight. It was hard for me to make weight, but I was under significantly when I weighed in. I'd say that photo 220, 222, 223.
Okay.
Then I met Dave, and we immediately moved up to super heavyweights. And I think in that picture when I went pro, I was about 239 on stage.
Okay.
So
Jeez.
223 to 239 in one season.
Yeah, that's incredible, man. And how long had you been competing before that? Because you've been competing for a while, right?
Yeah, I have. I got my first show 2000 at the Tricky Jackson Bluegrass Muscle Classic.
Okay.
I weighed 136 pounds. Got last place in my class, and it was crazy, because I went into the show. I didn't know. I've never even seen a bodybuilding show live. I had nobody going with me. I didn't have a tan. I didn't have all the resources that people have access to these days.
Okay.
But that was my start in 2000 at 136 pounds.
No kidding, man. And then now we kind of built it up. This is one of my favorite shots from the last couple weeks here. Now that picture is freaking incredible right there.
Thanks, yeah.
I
Indy
just
Pro 2021.
Yeah, I can't believe how much progress you've made. Like I said, I mean, God, man, I didn't realize you were started at that small. So before you trained, what just out of curiosity, like what did you walk around at before you were into bodybuilding?
I was a real small guy, and it was my size that actually got me into bodybuilding.
Okay.
The story goes, I was an underweight wrestler for the 103-pound weight class when I was a freshman in high school. I was about 88, 89 pounds, wrestling 103.
Yeah.
And I really didn't catch on to bodybuilding then. It was my sophomore year, as I was starting to break 100 pounds. I wanted to get closer to that weight class. I started reading bodybuilding magazines, learning how to train, learning how to be a better athlete through training, and nutritional strategies on how to grow. And all that worked great. within a year of applying that stuff, I was going to state championships. And I wrestled 103 for 3 years. Couldn't make the weight classes anymore. I made 125 my senior year. And that's the last time I ever weighed that much.
No kidding. No kidding. Then you got into bodybuilding, and now you're here. Do you guys remember about what you weighed for the Indy and for the following show?
I know exactly what I weighed.
Okay.
Well, I know what I got down to as my lows.
Okay.
I don't know what I actually weighed on stage.
Okay.
But my low weight getting down for the Indy prep was 248. I think I was on stage probably about 250, 251.
That makes sense.
And my low weight
Exactly.
coming down for the New York Pro was 244.
Okay.
And I think I was something more like 248, 249 on stage.
Okay.
Pretty accurate. Yeah.
Wow. And I know this, like I said, the past couple of years, I'll have to find another picture to drop it in here from, we'll say like 4 years ago. But man, you've made just so much progress. Like here's the way I've been putting it is, you see a guy turn pro, and then generally that's kind of who he is. That's the amount of muscle he has. And maybe he's going to have a couple growth spurts here and there. But to have been doing this since 2000 was your first show, and to now have some crazy growth spurts in 2020 and 2021, man, what do you guys attribute that to? I want to ask Dave, as a coach. Dave, what do you think?
I gotta say, I've been doing this for a long time and around this for a long time. I always like to point out how old I am, how to remind everybody, but I did my first show in 1986 as a teenager. Yeah, I'm fucking old, And I got to say that over years, I've seen all the progressions of, I've seen Lee Haney was Mr. Olympia at that point, so I've seen all the progressions in the sport. When you see this kind of progress, I'm going to throw out some old school cliche kind of stuff, but this is nothing but, first of all, there's a genetic predisposition, obviously, that Dorian has, that's a given. But I've seen people with genetics this comes down to elbow grease and work ethic. There's just nothing short of it. I don't have a very sexy answer on this, but all I can say is that just the type of training, the mindset to train with that kind of intensity, to make progressions and, PRs and maneuvering through, just learning how to mechanically train correctly to keep progressing. And actually being a student of your own body, how he knows anatomically how to apply stress loads to his, so it's very unique. He's got an approach that is based on just, extremely hard work. Over the years, he's progressed, it might not be in the actual weight or rep range in exercise, but I've seen him progress in, let's say, how he handles, like his back, for example, keeps progressing the last couple of years. So much of it's, here's an old school expression I'm going to throw out, the mind-muscle connection, just mechanically getting more and more in the movements, mechanically, uninvolving the arms and the brachialis when doing rows and getting the scapular flexion. It's amazing how this form has progressed since we've been working. He's just evolving as a bodybuilder. He's a student of training. When you take that and you apply work ethic and you apply genetics and you apply sound nutrition in the background, that's when you see guys progress. And I'm going to throw out some of these guys happened later in life. Look at Ronnie Coleman, for example. But again, this is just guys like this progress from work ethic. Yes, the genetics are there, but I got to say, I've seen people, and you're right, Scott, people usually they turn pro, and then what happens is that's generally what they have, their weaponry, right? Yeah. And then you'll see, waxing and waning of conditioning from show to show, fluctuations, tighter here, better for this show, this and that, but when you see actual structural improvements where it's holy fuck. If you go back to, the first year being pro, and then there's a progression where it's and again, this is not fancy, crazy drugs. This is just sound example of hard work, moving weight mechanically from A to B with good form and progressing on all that and having the nutrition. I think what we do with foods, is very comprehensive, and there's a direct correlation between what you eat and what's going to happen with how your muscles grow and everything in response to that kind of training. And then you have this crazy genetics, and there you have it. That's my assessment of what happened.
Okay. What do you have to say about that, Dorian? What are your thoughts on the progress you've made in the past couple of years?
Dave's just right on the money with so many aspects. I think this season, I found this level of sustainability, which goes back to probably the number one piece of advice I've given people throughout the years is consistency is key. But when it comes to both our training strategies and our nutritional strategies, it's to be able to be in a place where I can sustain the consistency over a long period of time is what's contributed to my long-term success. As for the training stuff, let me back up a little bit before I get into the specifics.
Yeah.
I think my evolution as a bodybuilder, I think I was kind of a late bloomer as a human in general. So I've seen some of these guys come in off the scene at a pretty young age, like Jay Cutler, and they have already got this huge frame developed, and they put the muscularity on top of it. They're pro at a really young age. I just don't think I had the capacity to do that. But that's me, and that's fine. I had a couple things I had to knock out of the way before I really dove into bodybuilding on the level that I am now and wanted to. One was getting my doctorate in chiropractic and getting that out of the way. Then just taking care of everything going on with my family life. Then once everything was, taken care of and I could focus on bodybuilding 100%, that's when I could really be consistent and do everything on the level that I need to make these gains.
That's huge,
but,
too.
Breaking it down, like I said, consistency is key. I think the things that we're trying to do with training, I think there's a level of intensity that has to be had to give this level of neuromuscular recruitment and neuromuscular excitation so you can really stimulate all muscle fibers.
Yeah.
Because, if you're not stimulating all your muscle fibers, you're not going to have that tone. Then you're not going to have the potential to put damage on all your muscle fibers, make it grow, from the nutritional aspect of things. I'm a workhorse too. And I think within the past couple of years, my ability to go for this with such energy and putting so much focus and drive into training might be a little bit overzealous. And there's times where I found myself overtraining as a result of it. And I think I just found myself in a nice balance and I'm not overtraining. And due to that, I'm excelling as well as I ever have in bodybuilding.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes total sense. I think too, while you bring it up, that it's a really cool thing, I think for some of the younger viewers to see. You're not just like some bro that just went in the weight room and had a dream. That you've put a career together, and that you're working a great career. That like if you didn't have bodybuilding, if you decided to quit, it wouldn't change your life. It wouldn't change like your finances and stuff like that. Like you basically you make your living outside of the sport. You have your clinic set right up at Armbrust, don't you?
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty cool.
I've had my Armbrust, my chiropractic clinic, Chiro Omega, up in there for about 8 years now.
That's pretty cool, man. Do you work on a lot of athletes, a lot of bodybuilder type people, or?
To be honest with you, I've kind of taken a back burner with chiropractic work.
Okay.
I'm trying to focus more on, doing the professional bodybuilding thing.
Okay.
Trying to focus more on dealing more with personal training type of clients.
Oh, really?
Focus on more health coaching, that type of stuff.
Okay.
The chiropractic stuff is very good, and I believe in it. But I think I get a lot of people who come to me for the wrong reasons.
Okay.
And it's kind of frustrating. I want to focus on health and optimizing wellness, and I want my patients to focus on that too.
Okay.
So I just haven't been doing as much of that, but no big deal.
Yeah, right on. So tell us
I will
about
say
this.
this. I will say this. Bodybuilding was there first.
Okay.
I was into bodybuilding before I pursued my degree in exercise science. And bodybuilding most definitely led me to that degree in exercise science. Bodybuilding's led me to my degree in chiropractic. Bodybuilding's led me to being now a IFBB pro. And I could, without bodybuilding, survive just fine.
Yeah.
But it's bodybuilding that has led me to where I am and what I am.
That's pretty cool. That's really cool, actually. So I want to talk the training, man. I want to hear some of your ideas. Like lay it on us, man. What are your workouts like? What do you believe in? I mean, we have so many ideas now of like guys are doing reps in reserve, guys are doing 5-day splits, the as they call it, the bro split versus push pull legs and stuff. What do you like? What's working for you?
Well, I can tell you my split. It's pretty simple. Mondays I take off. Tuesdays I do chest and 7 sets of lateral raises. Wednesdays back and core. Thursday I do more of a posterior chain dominant leg day. Friday shoulders and arms. Saturday's rest day. Sunday's like church. That's leg day, quad day specifically. And then we're back around to Monday, which is a rest day. I think my chiropractic and exercise science career really led me to a place where I can identify injury prevention. So I'm very smart about the way I move and the way I train. I don't go stupid heavy. So what I mean by that is I try to keep my rep range in a reasonable place. I hardly ever do less than 10 reps with anything.
Okay.
I feel if you can't move it for 10, you shouldn't be moving it. Your risk of injury is too high. And if you move 10s with time under tension, slow, controlled,
Yep.
with a significant load, it's going to do everything you need to do in terms of create the potential for muscle damage and creating that sense of neural excitation.
So when you started, and you were fairly small, I assume you didn't have a lot of natural strength, or were you? Were you strong for your size?
Looking at me, I'm a huge guy. I'm a giant individual. I'm a professional bodybuilder, and I'm strong, yes. But in comparison to like strongmen and powerlifters, I don't think I'm that strong.
Okay.
And I remember when I was a kid, I could flex my bicep. My bicep would just peek right up off of my arm, and it'd look impressive. And I'm not saying I was weak, but then again, it's not like Larry Wheels strong by any means.
Okay. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I've always just had these shapes that have led me to be a bodybuilder.
Yeah, that makes sense, man.
Round muscle bellies.
What have you learned in this past couple years? Because you've had to have done something different to make the phenomenal progress that you've made.
It's kind of funny. I've learned a few things. I can't think of anything significant. I think the most important thing is just covering your bases, dot your T's, or crossing your T's and dotting your I's.
Yeah.
When I look at bodybuilding, there's 4 main things that you need to cover. You need to cover rest. You need to cover nutrition, training, and supplementation. Those are your 4 bases. And if you're covering those and you're nailing them all at 100%, there's nothing that you can do to progress any faster. So as long as you're hitting everything consistently at 100%, you should constantly be improving.
Yeah.
That's what I was saying. There's a genetic predisposition that's there. And then all these other things are checked off. It's bodybuilding. Hate to sound so one-on-one, but you should see progression. I mean, that's the whole point.
Yeah.
You should be progressing. Plus, Dorian has the ability to also grow. It seems like he also has the capacity to grow, or I should say, change body parts during prep.
What do you mean?
His legs evolved. Well, for example, he seems to get very just neuromuscular, just very in tune, and just for example, his legs progress during this prep. Certain, things, his back, just things, more whistles and bells, there's more development of tissue that seems to happen during prep. I guess he's sensitive when we seesaw calories, what we do, the way we design nutrition, but I think there's that aspect where you should be able to, and I know he feels the same way. You should always be progressing. A lot of people are like, oh, it's showtime. I'm just going to, high reps. No, you should be trying to change body parts even during the prep. There's a look to the muscle where it looks vibrant, where you're actively neurological, where all these things that he's just mentioning. When you're applicating that with consistency during a prep, you should be progressing during the prep. And there's a cool look. A big reason why he's doing, it's like his muscle, looks vibrant on stage. We're trying to progress going into it, and there's a certain look to tissue that's raw and new and growing. Yeah. More of a pop to it on stage.
I'll say that you asked me what I've learned over the past couple of years.
Yeah.
And this is something I've learned, the past couple of years, and I've also applied it in a different way in this prep. And it's back to overtraining. I think for years, I'd get ready for a show, and I remember watching, that Arnold pumping iron and how they trained getting ready for their shows and how intense they were. And I loved it. But I think I took it overboard, and I think that was putting me in a place where I was overtraining, especially when I'm in like a show prep when I don't have the calories to back up that type of repair. But this prep specifically, we've been very smart about periodizing our cardio.
Yes.
We haven't been doing too much cardio. We've been doing cardio in segments where I'm in a significant caloric deficit. It's the only time I hit it, and I hit it hard, and I exploit it, and then we back off the cardio and make sure that we're rested and ready for the next week.
That's interesting. Is that something new?
Yeah, I think there's a couple things that led to this. I remember after Chad Nichols' show, that Muscle Mayhem show in 2018, I got right back into off-season training, and everything was moving in the right direction, training 6 days a week. And all of a sudden, everything just halted. I started feeling like shit. My strength started going down. My weight started going down. And I just realized I was overtraining. So we immediately backed it off to 4 days a week. And immediately I responded to it. And that was one of the biggest off seasons I've ever had in terms of growth.
That's when chunks of muscle, that's when there's a lot of growing. That's when there's a lot of growing.
And I think there's been preps in the past where as I go into the deficit, I just want to do everything I can to get as ripped as possible. And I'm working too hard. Next thing you know, I've got adrenal fatigue, and I'm starting to tap into some of my leg muscularity as an energy source. And I think we're just backing off the cardio to the point where we're able to reserve that muscle tissue in my leg and find that fine balance between preserving muscle tissue and losing body fat.
Yeah. Yeah, I could say, and just thinking about it, I feel like one of the things that was really cool about your physique this year has been that you have had like a real fresh look. You're big and round and of course ripped, but it's just your look on stage. I pulled one of the. Is this where you're at? Is this right now? I think Dave sent this over to me. What's this from, Dave?
A couple days ago.
Okay, so this is where you're at now. Man, dude, you were just so freaking round. It's incredible.
Yeah, I think that was like 3 days after the New York Pro.
Okay.
Yeah, and I was eating a little bit more. I was kind of off the restrictive diet, and I've blown up since that show.
No kidding.
Right afterwards, you can see the volume in those pictures.
Yeah.
Through the chest and arms. I think I competed at 248.
Okay.
I was at 272 and change last night.
Yeah. Wow.
I know not all that's going to be muscle tissue.
Sure, but wow.
Some of it will be.
Yeah, that's an incredible amount. Were you going to say
we're
something?
Taking advantage of this. There's a 2-week period here we're taking advantage of, obviously.
What do you mean?
Well, we're like 7 weeks between shows.
Okay.
Yeah. So we're going to take a couple of weeks, kind of let the body just kind of refresh. We're not going to eat so much that we're going to put on excessive body fat, but we're going to just kind of take the foot off the gas pedal for trying to get lean. Then when we're 4 weeks out, we're going to pedal to the metal once again.
Okay, nice.
And bring an improved version of what you saw at the New York Pro.
Dave, just to explain to anybody listening, what would be the reasoning for that? So you guys did the Indy Pro, then the New York Pro, then there's going to be a lag of time. Why would you want to pull back for a couple of weeks?
Because first of all, for the obvious of just resetting, letting the body. There's adrenal stuff. There's everything. We were able to be sensitive for a very good rebound right now for 2 weeks because we've been dieting.
Yeah.
And look, he touches high calories and he volumizes that quick. That's great sensitivity. We want to take advantage of that sensitivity before we dig into the hole again.
Yeah.
It's like we want to be more shredded. We want to be more pulled in, but we also want some more tissue up there too. We're trying to take advantage of this right now while we can. And then we create sensitivity from what's been going on for all this prep leading up to this. There's a 2-week rebound right here where we're getting good voluminous progress right here. And that segues into a good situation where then we have 4 weeks to really dig out, and that's what this concept is. He'll be very sensitive to when we go into that deficit again, in about a week or so. It'll just the progress, and then we start strategically placing cardio the way he was just talking about. And lo and behold, he'll be more pulled in. He'll be leaner, and he'll be bigger too. He'll look bigger.
Huh. Yeah, I know some people, it seems like the pros that I look at, they don't do better as the season goes on. But it sounds to me, because there's other guys that do, it sounds to me like you guys are saying that Dorian, you're a guy who improves through a season with multiple shows.
Oh, he's going to be
I
improving.
have
Like there's going
before.
to, let's put it this way. Yeah, this is going to be an improvement visually
That's cool.
at the show coming up. Yeah, like you'll see an improvement.
That's cool.
You'll see an improvement. And a big part of it is like again this 2 week period that he just touched on and we're touching on is this is a reset. Certain things have been backed off, and then those things will be applicated again. After when we're done with this, you know, big surplus we're in calorically. And again, it's not eating everything in sight.
Yeah.
It's just a structured up surplus. Not unlike what we would do on a high calorie day during the prep. We seesaw. We have like 4 days we go up and down.
Yeah.
So this is just basically maintaining, high calories, surplus we would normally do on those days that we did that for 2 weeks, and then we reset and get back in, as we call it, the hole.
Okay.
And like we go into that deficit, and the cardio is applicated when needed, during the major deficits that he's saying, and it's productive. And that's what we're gonna do.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes total sense. Yeah, I feel like you guys made some pretty big changes in 1 week, even,
Yeah.
from the
Yeah, we
Indy
did.
to New York. Yeah. Yeah. What was that?
It was a
Just
little
out of
uncomfortable.
yeah. What was that like? What did you guys have to do food wise with that?
Big, longer deficit. There's more. I mean, basically, there's more of a deficit. We're more aggressive. We got
Well, let's start. Let's start on show day Saturday in
yeah,
Indy.
Okay.
Uh, First of all, I think I came in at maybe 85% Indy. I think I was off. I think I was too dehydrated.
Mm.
I
yep,
think my electrolyte balance was off, and I think I
yep,
was also underfed.
yep,
So we knew what we needed to do going into next week to be better. And it was great getting the judges' feedback directly after the Indy. I mean, they came beelining straight at me. Great job today. Come in next week drier. Come in next week with better gut control,
Mm.
and you'll move up. And I took that to heart. And that's exactly what that ran through my head for a week straight until
Yeah.
I was off stage at the New York Pro. But since we weren't eating much on Saturday, we're already in the deficit.
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
Sunday, uh, right back to leg training. We just maintained a deficit the whole time. Then, as we got a little deeper into the week, I think it was like Monday and Tuesday. It's the beginning of the week, but the end of the stretch of low calories. We had 2 days in a row where there's like 20 grams of carbs. Several days in that stretch under 100 grams of carbs. And, that's when we're knocking out those cardio sessions and we're getting the training in. And just all those factors put me in a physiological state to get a little leaner
Nice.
and make those changes that the judges were looking for the New York Pro.
Okay. Okay.
yeah. And
But
the
we
day
attacked it
before
aggressively.
yeah. And then we did things a lot better the day before in terms of hydration and everything, and it just came to fruition. And it's pretty evident right away during prejudging. You could just see the difference.
Yeah.
And that was the pulse of just the feedback we got from everybody. So it's kind of cool knowing what, again, we're in this 2 week segment now, and then we're kind of excited, you do the math, we make progress like that in 1 week. Imagine, 4 weeks of that kind of a thing leading up to it, which is why it's kind of cool, because it's kind of cool. Oh, my phone, my camera, just kind of knowing that it's going to we're going to have a even better look. And it's just kind of cool knowing that, again, what we do have control is what we can put up there. So it's kind of cool knowing that we are going to have something that will be noticeably better.
Yeah.
It's kind of cool knowing that.
Yeah, I feel like at this point, the fat's already off, right? So it's not like you have to grind and grind and grind right into the show. You guys can, at this point, it's like you were already ready, body fat wise at the Indy. So that's just like, it's almost like the way I've seen it is it's more like almost like there's ups and downs, but it's more like a cruise. Like the stress, the pressure from the diet, it's kind of a little bit off now. Like you don't have to wonder, am I going to get lean enough,
I feel like I've done everything in the prep to be in shape for this show.
Yeah.
But we're not just looking to reproduce what we did at the New York Pro.
Okay.
Exactly.
We're looking to improve
Exactly.
and impress the judges and show the world that I'm a world
Exactly.
class competitor
Yeah.
and can hang with any Olympian on that stage. And I think what the difference is going to be is making sure that my glutes are peeled all the way across, so we can see lines
Yep.
not just in the side, but from every angle and from the back.
Okay.
I think
It's
once we
funny
can get
because
my
Scott,
glutes and my back peeled, we're there.
Yeah.
Scott, it's funny is, I showed you pictures of when the glutes are all the way across,
Yeah.
and we had to focus on that to keep him alive. And the part, that was like his biggest attribute. And now with how balanced he is, we reproduce that aspect of it on top of all this exercise. And I think that's going to be pretty scary looking at that
Right.
show.
Right on. So what's the next show then?
Puerto
It's
Rico.
it's the Puerto Rico Pro, which is in the Bahamas on the 25th.
Man, I'd already started looking at Google Flights.
Should
It's
fly
not.
over, man. Come on.
It's
Come over.
Bahamas. It's a good excuse.
Yeah.
That'll be cool. That'll be cool. Anything else we should touch on, guys? Anything that we should tell everybody while I've got you here?
Yeah, I made some notes. I just want to be comprehensive.
Yeah. Yeah.
You wanted to kind of talk about the points of what people can do to grow the maximum amount of muscle.
Yeah.
We talked about training. We talked about training strategy. I just want to touch on a couple of these notes that I wrote down that I think
please do.
has helped me produce, a continually improving physique. One is when you're in the off season and you're trying to grow, you have to have a calorie balance that's in the positive. You don't have a positive calorie balance, you don't grow, period. Doesn't matter how much you lift, doesn't matter how much drugs you do. If you're not eating the food, you don't grow.
Absolutely.
And it was kind of funny. I had a client. He's always asking me about drugs. What kind of drugs can I take to get huge? What can I do to get huge? I'm like, look, you don't have to come to the gym. You don't have to take any drugs. All you got to do is eat a bunch of fucking food, and you will get huge. That's how it works. So I think that's number one. Just making sure that you're always in a calorie balance. Dave's always been an advocate of mixing those proteins so we can kind of cross our amino acid spectrums and get more complete amino acid spectrums. That's something that we've really been doing since day one.
Yeah.
And the other thing that I think has been helping us in the past couple seasons is we've got the theme of the Chinese color wheel. And if you look at the plates of food that we eat, it covers all the colors of the rainbow.
No kidding.
Yeah, I think a lot of vitamins and minerals reflect some of these frequencies of color.
Huh.
And I think I've gone through so many preps, and I just feel so ran down. And I feel like sometimes at the end of a prep, I don't even want to do another show because I feel like I just need to recover.
Yeah.
Which has not been the case this year because I feel like I've got this sense of sustainability, not only just off of my environment, my home life, and my training, but with everything that's going on with my nutrition as well. And that's something that we've implemented, and I think without a doubt has created a difference in my overall well-being going through the process.
You got to see the variety of foods that are used. This is not a chicken and rice diet.
No kidding.
We use multiple different types of fats. We use multiple different types of protein combinations, multiple types of fats, lots of green, colorful vegetables. Because you know what? These vegetables make a huge difference. Like I don't care, it is, and I'm for sure one reason why he progresses is because of the vegetables we have involved.
The variety.
No doubt.
Without a doubt.
I don't know how many. We have I don't know. There's so many foods. We have a variety of carbs. We have a variety of fats. We combine multiple protein sources. There's no doubt that this is what's making everything click in the background of how he's training and all that.
I like the sound of that. I feel like, so often people with the diets I give people, I'll give them options. But if we're not doing a contest prep, sometimes it'll just be like, you can use ground turkey or chicken for this meal. You could use beef or salmon for this meal, and you can use rice or sweet potato. And then later I find out they're using rice, chicken.
Doing what's easy.
Yeah, doing what's easy. And I feel like that it is a lot of work to put what you're doing together. Like that's got to be
worth it.
Yeah,
it's worth it.
Yeah, I think it's a good message.
It's a lot of work, but just like anything else, it's the lifestyle that we're living. And once that you go through the process a couple times, it becomes a habit.
Yeah, that's a great message. I like that.
Yeah, it really just shows like food's ready for. I mean, if the fucking nutrition supersedes everything,
Even the training?
everything.
I would
Well,
say
look, I
so.
mean, if it's true because of the nutrition, you could do studies. You could say someone who's training 3 days. I mean, I'm sure you could do controlled studies where you would show how you take a chicken and rice diet compared to someone who's training more frequently, compared to someone who has more of a comprehensive diet with multiple fat, and they train half the amount. I'm sure something could be created where you would see.
Yeah, I
But
think you're right.
they did one study. I mean, just real quick before we got to go. I mean, they did like a muscle biopsy study where they took a control group where they had 3 whole legs a day where the other group didn't. And they did like muscle biopsies after 12 weeks. And there was like a 17% more muscle growth with the A group, It's just, there's no doubt nutrition. It probably does supersede the training.
I
As
see
far
where
as
you're
it's
coming
going.
from with it. All right. Well, listen, guys, this is really cool, and I'm super pumped that we could catch you mid-season. While you're still in the middle of what has been your best season yet, man. This is
We're just getting going. We're just getting going. I'm
this is
excited.
exciting. I'm excited
Yeah.
too, just as a fan of the sport and watching you, man. I haven't gotten to go to the shows, but I watched on the pay-per-view, and I've been pumped, man, to see how you've done. And like I said, I feel like a lot of our listeners and viewers that they've been following along too, and that there's this momentum that you've had built. I think that people can relate to you because you weren't the Jay Cutler who came into it and was already this big guy. You were a guy who, like you said, man, you were 130 pounds, at your first show. And, you've continued. And the message I'm getting here is that it's been a lot of hard work for a really long time. That's really what the answer has been. That's pretty cool.
Pretty spot on. I've been training 24 years now. I'm 38 years old, and I've been a competitive bodybuilder for 21. And I feel like every season since season 1, I've progressed forward a little bit.
Right on.
And I finally progressed forward enough to be competitive with some of the best professional bodybuilders in the world. And this is a long-time goal of mine, and it's exciting to see it finally come to fruition. And I'm going to ride it till the wheels roll off.
I love that, man.
Imagine next year.
Yeah. But before we get there, I'm hoping for some points at this next show. Or even better than points, who knows? But I think at that point I'm doing the math in my head. You know what I'm saying? We'll get to the Olympia then. That would be freaking unreal. So
with all due respect to the competitors coming to that show, I'm coming in guns a-blazing, and I'm going to do everything I can to win that show. Best of luck to anybody who comes in and tries to compete with me. I hope they come into their very best, because that's how I want to beat them.
Hell yeah. All right. Well, then let's get out of here, guys, and we'll all be following along. Dorian and Dave, I really appreciate your time. Guys, thanks for hanging in there.
On.
Thanks for watching with us here.
Yep.
And, for another episode here at Think Big Bodybuilding Media, I'm Scott McNally with IFBB Pro, Dorian Haywood, and his coach, Dave Kalick. Gentlemen, I appreciate you.
See ya.